I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea if this is actually going to work on my Hoyas, but these three were going downhill fast. I've got pest problems, root issues, all of it. So I'm basically applying everything I know from growing aroids and hoping for the best. So, hey guys, welcome back. Today is a bit different because I'm definitely not very confident or have a lot of experience when it comes to Hoyas. But I didn't want to just sit back and watch these decline. So, I'm going to walk you through how I'm thinking through these problems, what I'm choosing to do, and why, based on what's worked for me with other plants. I have had better luck with my Hoya Matilde. I think it's the splash growing in Le Pond. This is actually pushing new growth. It has been quite easygoing, as well as my Hoya Super Eskimo. This one is, over a meter long and has actually bloomed for me. Considering the state of these Hoyas that we're going to repot together today, I did not want a chance making my own Hoya mix, so I ran across to the succulent source and I bought their ready-to-go Hoya mix. This is what it looks like here up on the screen. From just eyeballing it, I can see that it has orchid bark in there, as well as rice hulls and large green, as well as small green perlite. From those ingredients, I know it's going to be quite an airy mix, so I'm hoping that we can regrow these roots that look quite fried in all three of these. All three of them have different issues. Some have the same issues. We'll go through each one individually and work our way through. I'm going to start with this one first. I'll put the name up on the screen for y'all once I know what it is. And the first thing I'm going to do is unmount it from its trellis. I like using orchid clips to secure it to the trellis. It helps with, just making a nice display, a neat display, and it gives the Hoya the support it needs as well. I frequently use trellises to display some of my aroids as well, such as my pothos and heteroeciums. I find they come in really fun shapes. I'll show you all a few actually that come in different shapes. This one is just a standard round one. I have a bunch on this side here just being stored in an old crate. So these I get straight off of Amazon. I'll link everything below for y'all, but they come in really fun shapes and it really makes for a nice display if you do intend on plant styling inside your home. These Hoyas, however, are far from decorative, but stick around. Hopefully, we'll get them back up and running. I'll be sure to post updates for y'all along the way. And thanks for being here and joining me on this rehab journey. I'm really hoping to rescue these. So, this one in particular is chronically dehydrated. You can see some of the leaves are brown, yellowing. They even have some fungal issues. The vines are seriously dry as well, brown even and crispy. That one completely broke off. Okay, so I'm gonna take a closer look here, and this one, honestly, I think it's on me for sure. It has been underwatered for a while, and the roots feel not great. I don't even know if this one is salvageable without starting over. You can see how deflated these roots are. I think I'm just gonna get it out of this pot and take a better look here. Thank goodness I picked up a new or fresh bag of Hoya mix that is known to work. Avi is an avid collector of Hoyas, and she's always willing to share her experience. And she gave me some tips and tricks that I'll share with you guys along the way and within this video. So right now, I'm so glad I got that mix because I don't think keeping it in this particular mix any longer would have done it any good. So the roots look completely gone and those white cotton looking things are actually mealybugs and the black stuff looks like fungal. Let's take a closer look together. Those white cottony spots I'm pretty sure are mealybugs. Now with my aroids, pests are something I deal with pretty aggressively, so I'm just going to approach this the same way. I don't know if Hoyas will respond the same way, but I feel like pests are pests at the end of the day. I'm going to directly spray the affected areas using rubbing alcohol and just out of the bottle. It's completely undiluted. It's 70% alcohol, and this works great on my aroids. So that's what I'm going to do first and leave that to dry. Already, I'm thinking, or I'm convinced now that I'm going to start this one over. So I'm just going to snip off these roots that I'm sure are not functioning anymore. I feel like this is one of those situations where you don't really know how bad it is until you actually take the planter out of the pot. So those deflated roots were just a telltale sign that I need to start this one over. So after chopping, you can see that it is actually bleeding. That is Hoya sap. And I'm just going to put it aside to callus a bit. Here's a closer look at the sap. It can really take a long time to callus because the sap itself is viscous or thick and it flows in abundance. It's also pretty sticky, and if it gets on your skin, it can cause skin irritation. I'm showing you all now some close-up of the leaves that are showing telltale signs of fungal issues. I believe that it could be, what do you call it again? It was on my citrus trees, and I made a short blight. That's the name of it, blight. So I have practiced and succeeded with treating blight using neem oil as well as copper fungicides. And once it completely dries, we'll come back to that one. On screen right now is my Hoya Sarawak, and I'm going to start by doing the same thing again. I'm going to take it off of the trellis by unclipping it. All three of these Hoyas have also been chronically burnt. They live outside of the greenhouse, and the sun here in Trinidad has been scorching, and they all got burnt. Now, when I originally moved homes, these Hoyas were living in my bedroom, and let me give you some footage of what this Hoya Sarawak looked like when it was living indoors. Currently, these vines seem hollow and crisp. I think I'm going to have to cut it back as well because no new leaves are on them. Okay, so let's take a look at these roots next. I'm going to pull off these large chunks of cococoya. I can already see roots on the surface. I'm hoping you guys can see it as well. They are quite deflated. I also tried topping this with moss at one point. When I moved them outside, oh, the roots don't look too bad down in here. Oh, they're actually poking out. Okay, so maybe this one I missed the opportunity to repot it in time. So I'm hoping this one is salvageable and I don't have to chop on proper because the leaves look pretty good. The main stem looks healthy and those roots do look okay, white and hydrated. Okay, so this looks salvageable. I think we can make this one work by just repotting it. Great. That's one of the burnt scars. By the way, there's another. So let's get it out of the mix, and I think we're going to change location with this one. I'm going to cut off these vines that don't have any new growth on it. Hopefully it'll activate at another point and new leaves will start to grow on a new vine, and we'll just add some more support at that point. Okay, I'm going to give it a size up as well. This is the original pot it was in, and I'm going to put it into this one. So I'm going to clean this out next, get rid of all the debris that was inside, and we're going to get it into that one and into the ready-to-go Hoya mix from the succulent sauce. So I'm going to put a layer, maybe like 1 inch to 2 inches of soil at the base before adding my Hoya Sarawak in, like this, leveling it. And I'm not going to mess with the root ball too much. I don't want to cause too much trauma. This is what I practice with my aroids as well. I never really mess with the root ball. I want to make sure that I get the top of this existing root ball covered with soil just like this. So I'm going to backfill and make sure that I probably leave like ½ inch of space from the top of the plant to make sure that water is able to flow down into the pot efficiently and not over top. So this is what it looks like all backfilled, and I'm just making sure there are no roots to the top poking out anymore. And the last thing I'm going to do is add back a trellis just to give these vines some more support. I don't want them flopping over because these vines can snap so easily. So they will definitely need to get a support structure. I am thinking twice about adding these trellises because this plant is preferring to grow upward. So maybe I should lose those trellises and use my twigs support stakes. These actually have these horizontal branches that mimic the natural shape of a plant. So they are configurable as well. So what I'm thinking to do is use this, and as the Sarawak continues to grow, if it continues to grow upward, I could just stack these and lend additional support that way. So I'm opting for this. I'm just going to insert it and use the same orchid clips to secure it just like this. I make sure not to twist the vines too much. I try to follow the natural growth pattern. So if it extended left or right, I try to secure it on the left or on the right, respectively. And the orchid clips just really get the job done. And it's so much easier to use than my Velcro strips that I know I rave about all the time, or even a twist tie or a, a piece of twine or string. It's just easier to use the orchid clips. And I'm just showing you all how the stake can stack. I'm going to give this one a quick check to see if it has calloused. It has not. I can still see white sap, but the alcohol has evaporated and it has dried. This one does not look like it has pests, but I'm just going to be proactive and treat it with my pest concoction that I make using rubbing alcohol, neem oil, and dish soap. In this case, I want to make sure that this sponge is clean so that I don't introduce any of those millies to the other plants that don't have any pests. And I'm just going to wipe the front and the back of the leaves just like that. This also helps to prevent fungal infection by adding the neem to that pest mix. Usually I just have alcohol and soap in there, but in this case, because I'm seeing fungal issues, I introduced a bit of neem into the solution off camera, and you can see that it cleaned off the black spots nicely. Later in the video, I'll spray all with copper fungicide. Once we get all of these repotted and get those roots hydrated again, I'm just going to place them in the greenhouse because the sun is coming out now and I don't want to further stress the plants out. So I'm just going to place my Sarawak in there first, as that one has been successfully repotted. And we're going to go back and take a look at this one. I have also wiped the leaves front and back, and I'm just gonna let it dry here too. In the meantime, let's tackle my third Hoya. This one also needs a facelift, and it looks like it's got some edema spots. Those purple spots are usually signs of edema. I'm gonna repot it, and the first thing I'm gonna do, as usual, is get it off the trellis. I can't remember the name of this one, and for some reason I do not have a photo of it on my Instagram. So if you know what it is, please comment below. I wish I had footage of it when it was at its peak health, because the new leaves actually come in with pink splashes as opposed to white splashes. That was the reason I bought it in the first place. But I guess with the move and all of that, it really hasn't performed its best considering all the environmental change. But yeah, it actually comes in with pink splashes, those new leaves. As I remove this trellis, you would see how bare the vine has become with absolutely no leaves on it. I'm going to have to chop this one back as well. It was pretty long at one point and trailing nicely, and I decided to put it on a trellis to just create a better display. Okay, so let's get to chopping next. I'm going to get rid of the bare vines by just snipping it away at the lowest point that I could find that doesn't have any leaves, which is right here. So that's the first snip. And then I'm going to find the second vine, which is this one. It's quite long, like almost 4 or 5 feet. And I'm going to snip it all the way back to where there is a leaf, which is right here. And then I'm just going to get rid of these vines to make my working space clearer. And we're going to repot it next and take a good look at those roots to figure out, if it needs to be chopped and propped, or if I can go ahead and repot this one and place it in a different environment to hopefully bring it back. This moss is also quite dry and crispy. Let me give you guys a better view of the surface. There are roots emerging on the surface that have deflated and seriously become dehydrated and crispy. That's a good sign that I have roots out the bottom. Well, I think it's a good sign anyway. Usually when that happens with my aroids, I know, okay, I'm on track for a repot. So let's really see what's happening in here. It does not look like it has a ton of roots, really, just this, but they aren't all entirely dead. So I think I'm just going to repot it into my ready to go Hoya mix, and hopefully it'll grow some healthier roots for me. Let me know what you would do having seen these roots, if you'd repot it or just cut it all back and start over. So here's what I'm thinking. Because I don't really have a ton of roots, I think I'm going to just remove as much of this mix as I could without disturbing the root ball in a big way and pot it back up into the pot that it was originally growing in. So I'm not going to risk, well, I think I wouldn't be risking overwatering at that point because the root ball is at least 1/3, I would say, the size of the pot, and that's usually a rule of thumb for me when I'm repotting a plant. I gauge the size or the upsize in the pot based on the size of the root ball, ensuring that it's about 1/3 the size of the pot or takes up like 1/3 of the volume of the pot. So let me show you what I mean. So after adding about 2 inches of soil at the bottom, this one fits halfway down, which to me is ideal for a root size that size. Oh, that's what has worked for me in the past anyway, to just help me not overwater my plants, which you all know I love to do. So I'm going to just backfill now and continue with this plan that I'm proposing. And I'm going to make sure that I get those exposed roots on the top covered properly, but I'm not burying it too deep to smother them. And I'm still going to leave at least that 1 inch gap from the top of the soil line to the pot to make sure that water percolates sufficiently to make sure that the roots have access to water and nutrition. So this is what it looks like, and it's not too bad. Okay, so I'm going to set this one back up in the same cover pot as it was in because we're using the same pot, and I'm going to add back the same trellis to give it some support. I know my aroids love being supported, and from the chats that I've had with other Hoya lovers, including trellis in your setup helps to promote growth faster. I haven't really researched that in a big way to know why and stuff, because I actually would prefer if my Hoyas would trail, but I'm just going to go with what the experts have advised for now and get it back on a trellis instead of chopping and propping. But I do have a chop and prop coming up. Don't forget, we still have the Hoya Katzbergii, I believe it is, to chop and prop, and we'll get to that soon. So this one is back up on the trellis. And what I'm going to explain now is why I'm going to move them back into the greenhouse. Even though I moved them out because they were not performing well, but clearly where I placed them outside of the greenhouse, they did not like either. But having been given some new advice, I'm going to explain why I'm going to put them back in here and where I'm going to put them in, and we're going to observe them together over time. Okay, so while I set up the chop and proper, I'm going to explain all of that. So basically, when I moved, well, why I moved the Hoyas out of the greenhouse in the first place was because I was not seeing any new growth after 6 months, and I did not think a repot was necessary because I wasn't seeing any roots on the surface, and the plants were hydrating accordingly, or how I would expect it to once I watered it. So I didn't think a repot was necessary. So I figured it just did not like the conditions in the greenhouse. So I moved them out just opposite the greenhouse. But I think that spot they did not like either, because in that spot, I think it received too much direct sun for too long and they burnt. And well, you all saw the scars from the burning. Let me just show you all what a severely dehydrated Hoya leaf looks like. That's this. I'm doing the taco test, which is to just squeeze your leaves gently to check for suppleness. Those at the top look fine, but this one, those are pretty gone in my mind. But I'm still going to try and see if I can chop and prop and bring them back. So anyway, back to my story. So once I've realized they were burning and no new growth, and that at that point they needed a repot because roots were not visible on the surface, which is kind of confusing because it's growing a ton of roots but no new leaves. So was it just that it needed a repot, but the lighting situation was too much because it was getting scarring? So at this point I was confused. I don't mean to be annoying and interrupt the story again, but I want to point out how I'm taking these cuttings, which is in between the nodes with at least 1 inch of vine on either side of the node, which is where the leaf is emerging. That's how you identify a node. So like this, I'm just going to cut this one here in the middle of the two leaves, and then in the middle here. So in this case, I wasn't able to get 1 inch every time, but I got at least a centimeter, and that will work. What I really should say is that I'm hoping it works. But anyway, so the advice that was given to me was that the Hoyas like to be in a cool, windy spot with significant amount of light, but not necessarily direct sun for a long period of time. So I said, okay, I'm going to move them back into the greenhouse, and coming up shortly, as soon as I finish chopping these and setting them up to prop, I'll show y'all exactly where I'm going to place them with the hope that the conditions there are better. So let me get this prop tray, which is really a plant saucer that I'm using as a dish, loaded with moistened moss. Let me get this prop tray done, and what I'm doing is just burying the nodes in moistened moss by inserting them into the moss like this. And I'm just going to place them, a fairly good distance apart to hopefully not have those roots tangle up, if it does work, if this propagation method even works. But well, at this point I could just hope for the best, because this is what I do with my aroids, and I'm literally just hoping that this setup works. I have seen it done before in a million YouTube videos, and I have chatted with a ton of y'all before making this video, so it's just left to be seen what happens. So this one, I think, because I'm not going to be putting it into a humidity dome or propagation dome, I'm going to place it where my anthuriums are, where there's a high humidity, and the lighting situations should be sufficient to still keep these cuttings hydrated, especially as they have no roots. But for now, I placed it with the others to just finish up, and I'm going to water the previous two with great white mycorrhizae, and this is something that I swear by for my aroids, and I'm thinking that Hoyas would benefit from it too. Basically, it aids in nutrient uptake by allowing the plant to absorb nutrients more efficiently, as well as preventing plant trauma upon repots. I'm going to treat them all for fungal issues next. That's why I didn't place the prop tray in position as yet, so you can look forward to that. I swear by using Captain Jack's copper fungicide, you'll see me pull it out and spray all three plants thoroughly. So those are well watered, and let's get to fungal treating. This is the copper fungicide that I use. It has really been great as a preventative, and my weekly neem oil spray helps to keep my fungal issues manageable. And so the last thing I have to do is basically get them into that new environment. And this is my thinking. I'm going to place them in the greenhouse. So they're going to receive some shade under my 70% shade cloth in here, but close to the door so there's maximum airflow. And I'm going to show you exactly where now. So my prop tray, like I mentioned before, is going to sit in between here with my anthuriums to hopefully help in the propagation process by by being in a high humidity environment. And that spot close to the door in the greenhouse is actually right behind here. And all we have to do now is wait. I feel like this is the hardest part, because I've done everything, and now it's just about whether the plant will respond or not. I don't know if this is going to work, but that's kind of the point of this video. If you've ever tried to figure out a plant just by applying what you already know, let me know in the comments, and definitely subscribe, because I'll be updating you guys on how this actually turns out. What I'm showing you now is the last few that I have to repot, but this is in Lachusapon. So the video to come is me repotting these into a new system altogether. Okay, so I know this was a bad situation, and I just want to take a minute to thank the ones that consulted with me and tried to help me through here. And by no means do I hold any of y'all responsible for the results, but I just want to say that I'm so grateful for the support and the time that y'all took to help me figure things out. I really almost gave up on all of these, honestly. I mean, take a look at them again. I feel like there's no coming back, but we'll see what actually works. I do like a good challenge, and I love experimenting, so I'm gonna take you guys along as usual. So thanks for being here, and I hope you guys subscribe to really follow the journey and to just pitch in anywhere that you think you can. So keep good until the next one. For more plant rescues, you can watch this video next.